is the Political Spotlight.
The Political Spotlight is a joke. It's more like a political flop.
Nobody listens to Bilbrey.
He's just a wannabe podcaster. No one takes him seriously.
He is a rude, crude dude that will never go any further than broadcasting from his mother's basement.
Bilbrey is a wrecking ball for Indiana politicians.
Grab another box of Twinkies and generic cola, Bilbrey.
And get back to your microphone and your audience of nobodies.
The Political Spotlight is a joke.
It's more like a rude, crude dude that will never go
Bilbrey's a wrecking ball for Indiana. Shut that stupid Bilbrey up.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are back in the studio. We are hoping that it's going to be doing well. I hope you guys are doing great this evening. We're doing well. We had a lot of things going on over the last couple of days. Been busy, been communicating with those in government, been talking with people at the state level. We are gearing up for Thursday evening episode. Monday will be 14. Tuesday will be 15. Wednesday will be 16. Thursday will be episode 717. Episode 17 is gearing up to be our look at the J.D. Prescott, State Representative J.D. Prescott from District 33. We're going to be looking at his half-baked idea for property tax, the removal of property tax. So we're going to be taking a look at that and seeing what's going on and fighting the fight going on there. However, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be taking a look at something that we need to look at. And I feel like it's a fight that's getting ready to start coming to Muncie soon. I feel like that's going to be the big fight. And in order to properly take a look at this and talk about this and discuss this, I think what we need to ask is, what in the flock is going on in Muncie, ... Delaware County, ... Indiana as a whole, ... America. All right. This has been something that everyone has been talking about for a long time, the last, year or two. And I will tell you that I was on the ground floor of fighting this thing back when Muncie Mayor Dan Ridenour decided to bring a couple of these cameras to Muncie all the way back in 2021, I think it was. And we went there and listened to what was going on and didn't like what we were hearing. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's what we're going to be talking about because of some disturbing rumors that I have been hearing. And so we're going to get into that this evening. We're also going to talk about a few other follow-up things, and we're going to get on the path and do that. I will let you know that so far, so good. We're not going to jinx anything tonight here in the studio. I do have the gentleman is going to be coming back in. We got some major work that's going to be hopefully taking place here soon to make sure everything's shored up forever. I am dealing with a little bit of a headache. I've had a headache for the last day and a half, so we're kind of on the struggle bus with that. So bear with me a little bit, but we're going to get through it, and we're going to have a great show. I hope everybody is ready to get on it. And hey, before we get really hardcore into it, if you would, it would be so wonderful if you would smash that like button. Let us know you care. Let us know you're there. Let us know you love us. Go ahead and thumb us. That was really gay. I'm sorry to tell you, I don't know. I should not have said that. That was stupid. I don't even know why. I don't know. It just came. I think it might be a brain tumor. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I think it's like got something to do with CERN or something. They turn CERN on, turn CERN off or something. If you want to get a hold of us, you can get a hold of us at these numbers and places. You can find all that stuff. That would be great if you could let us know if you have anything, have thoughts, have comments, if you're concerned about what's going on or have anything you want to. Hey, I want to give a shout out to Witty Reviews. Big shout out to the cute and lovable little guy, Stephen Witty. Check him out, Indie Reporter on Twitter, and his show. I think he does a show. Do you do a show on Saturday and Tuesday now? Is that what you do? You do Saturday? You've always done Saturdays and Tuesdays, I think. So check that out. And then we've got the Dark Side of Muncie is in the chats doing what this Dark Side of Muncie. Oh, we're getting a live request from the Ice and Ina, the Iron Ina, to turn on the lava lamp. Give me 1 second here. We'll do that. Why you guys aren't asking me to, you're asking me to do stuff like that, turning on the lava lamp. Why aren't you asking me to shoot a couple rounds off of the old Scorpion over here? You should tell me to pop a couple rounds out. I could open that window and pop them out that window and over the neighbor's house over there and into the field that's just that way. I'm sure nobody would care about that, eh? Right? I don't think anybody would care at all. But for another day, we turned the other one on. So hey, before we get to it, I'm excited to announce something. I'm so excited about this. It doesn't affect me really in any way. It does affect me. I shouldn't say that, but it doesn't affect me specifically. But I gotta say, my brother's back. My brother from the same mother. Is back. I've got a brother from another mother. He's down in Wayne County, and then I've got a brother from the same mother, and that's this little dude here. All 5'2" of him. He's points for anybody that can tell me where he's at. Anybody that can. Yeah, right. People notice the lamp is off, but they don't notice that I'm dead on air. That's hilarious. And it was my grandmother, mind you. Yeah, he's if you can Seattle. No, God. He wouldn't be caught dead in Seattle. Oh, no, he's not in Houston. You're close, but about 4 hours away. If you look over his left ear, his right ear is on screen. You can see his right ear clearly. But if you look over his left ear, really small down there, looks like the Texas School Book Depository. And then you can see just below the Texas School Book Depository, the famous Elm Street, where back on Friday, November 22nd, 1963, about 12:30 p.m.
Are you telling me he stood there purposefully to take that photo so he could show you the depository? Because you're the JFK nut.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. No, he's back from Italy. He's back in the States permanently. I wouldn't have got that out. Yeah, he's just another patsy. That's right. He said, "I've been sitting here waiting. I never got the green light to go." Yeah, pretty cool picture. Yeah, right. Pretty cool that he is there, and he got home. They got home last week, and he had to go there to get his car. They shipped his car to Dallas, and he had to go pick it up. And so he's there. Stumblefoot. Oh, he can wear my clothes many, many, many times over. So yeah, that's a pretty cool picture that he had there. So glad to see that he and his family are back, and everything's going good. He has made the official decision to leave the Navy. He will be leaving the Navy at the end of next year. They will essentially be in. He's moved to League City, Texas is where they moved to. Down where the NASA headquarters is, all that stuff. And so he's got a job making the big bucks, administering a hospital or some nonsense there. I don't know. So he's leaving the Seabees, and he's not going to be John Wayne any longer in the Fighting Seabees, and he's now going to be Meredith Grey or some nonsense. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Okay, so besides the family thing, I do want to let everybody know that I sent out that letter, the big letter that I read to you all on Thursday. I sent it out, and I did get a response back from a number of, well, I shouldn't say a number of counselors. I mean, there's only 9 of them, so more than a couple is a number, I guess. I did receive a response back from Rose Selvey. She sent me a response back stating that she had received and read the email, and little does she know there is going to be a quiz. So I hope she's prepared, because there will be a quiz. I also received a response back from Nora Powell, District 2 Muncie City Councilor. And Nora Powell said the following. If I can find it, give me a second here. Nora Powell. Okay, so Rose Selvey responded. She said received and read. District 2, Nora Powell, she responded. She said, confirming receipt of your email as requested. Okay, I can appreciate that. So she did that. That's 2. 2 out of 9. I received a response back from at-large counselor, the third at-large counselor, which is William McIntosh, Billy Mack. Billy Mack actually wrote the longest response back. And he wrote, let me pull up the right one, because a couple of them responded. Billy Mack wrote back saying, Mr. Bilbrey, I personally understand your concerns and frustrations. We as a council need to clean it up. Looking at the playback is a seriously sad situation. And dude, I can't disagree. I think that that's perfect. So that's 3 counselors out of 9. So there you go, Stumblefoot. You got your you You got 3 that responded. Okay, then we got another 3 that didn't, and then another 3 that didn't. But listen, I did send that going into Friday. I will give them until Wednesday before I call it a loss. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. I normally don't bust their chops over the weekend. So I sent it on Friday, late Thursday into Friday. So I will give them till Wednesday before I count that as a no-go. Okay. And then before we get into the flock discussion, the only other thing that I want to tell you, and this is, I guess, this is how we'll start it off. So over the weekend, I started receiving messages from citizens. None of this came from any of my inside. So I consider everybody that I speak to that give me information sources, but I guess so you guys will know, and maybe this will really help understand how things are done. When I tell you guys that I am talking to a source, specifically speaking, when I use that word, that is a person that either works at City Hall, is like an employee of the government, being Muncie City, Anderson City, Winchester City, City of Newcastle, or an elected official, Delaware County, Muncie, Anderson, Winchester, Henry County, the state of Indiana, United States of America. Whether they are an elected official, government official, or someone that is like a politico, and I use that term meaning somebody that might not necessarily be in politics, being as a candidate running for office or something like that, but someone who is involved with a party or is very involved. I'll be honest, like, for example, at this point, I don't consider, many of you viewers, honestly, as citizens anymore. Specifically, like Stumblefoot, Jackie. There are several of you that you don't run for office, but you're far more involved than just, say, a specific regular citizen. So I just want to let you know, when I say sources, I normally mean somebody connected in some way. So I also talked to some other sources over the weekend, but these were not connected to government. These were just citizens. However, the citizens' concerns were that they had heard that, and how they specifically framed it was, Chief Sloan of the Muncie City Police Department has been meeting with members of the Muncie City Council in groupings of 3 or less. Now, they could meet in groupings of 4 or less, because they just can't be 5. 5 would be a quorum. So they've been meeting in groups of 3 in order to discuss flock cameras. And that has been a concern for several of these citizens, rightfully so. So I was concerned about what I was seeing. Like, for example, one of them said, "Hey, caught a rumor. The police chief is meeting with council members 3 at a time about flock cameras to avoid open meeting laws." And then the rumor was something is coming next month. Now, that seemed concerning to me. Now, the other situation was the person said serial meetings are still open door violations. And that comment would be right. Serial meetings would be open door violations. However, unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, they are allowed to meet 2 or 3 in groups like that. That's not technically a violation of anything. I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of it, but it is what it is. So, yes, that's right, Charlie's. So, I received that, and I thought, well, it's time to go to work. And probably the first thing I was going to do was I was going to send an email to the chief of police, but because the chief of police and Dale Basham are on the same internet plan, which means apparently theirs isn't working either because I never received responses from them, I thought I probably better send an email out to the city councilors first. So after I sent the long email out that I wanted them to read, I did send out an email about this question. It says, important question. Muncie City Councilors, I have a simple question that should be easy for all 9 city councilors to answer. However, first, I want to put out the following reminder. On August 7th, 2026, I sent an email to all 9 of you, and I have only received replies back. And at the time, I had only received responses from Councilor William McIntosh. So far, I have not received responses from Councilor Green, Nora Powell, Brandon Garrett, Sarah Gullion, Jerry Dishman, Harold Mason, Dale Basham, Rose Selvey. I still need the remaining 8 of you to read that email, take in the information, and reply once you have. That said, I have a new important question for all 9 of you, and I need an answer from you all referencing this question. How many of you have met with Muncie Police Chief Nate Sloan, either one-on-one or in groups of 2, 3, or 4 in the past few weeks to months through today's date? If you have not met with Sloan in a meeting about flock cameras or other reasons, please reply. If I do not hear from you, I will assume that you have met with him. That will lead to a follow-up question, but as of now, I'm just trying to determine who he has or has not been meeting with. So, just to make it clear, if you have not met with him in the last 3 months, please let me know. That said, if you have met with him and you do want to respond, you are more than welcome. But if I don't get responses from counselors, I will take it to mean that you have met with Sloan. Looking forward to hearing from you all. And so that's what I sent out. And before I get to the responses, I do want to give... Okay, I see Kate has covered Danny there. I was getting ready to kill him. I apologize. We have literally done everything with the commercials that we can do. Our only options at this point, unless and until YouTube tells me something different, is to completely shut them off, which would be pretty detrimental, or leave them where they are. They are at the lowest segment. So, I don't know. I think it's YouTube's way of trying to hurt live streamers because it doesn't affect video people the same way. Because video, you can set them where you want. And I set them afterwards, but unfortunately, we are no longer able to control the live channels. I've said that before, but maybe people weren't here. That's fine. If you guys see that, if you guys could help me out with that, if you ever see somebody talking about that, snag them in the comment and beat them to death. No, I'm kidding. But you know what? I'm just giving you a hard time, Danny. Hey, you still haven't answered, or maybe look and see if you answered me. I sent you a question, Danny. If you haven't responded to that question I sent you, I sent you a text question. If you haven't got it, respond. And if you have, I will look afterwards and I will see. You might have responded. I like the political spotlight before the commercials. I wish I could tell you guys who that person was. My grandmother knows really well, but don't say it. Anyways, okay. So, all right. No, that would be great. I would love nothing more than to know that asshole's paying me to call him out and bust his balls. That would be great. That would be, I would take his money more than somebody I supported. If I support you, I don't want to take your money, but I want to take JD's money. Yeah, right. YouTube's going broke. That's right. Okay. No. All right, Danny. I'll respond back to you probably tomorrow because I got one more question I need to ask you after that. Back when the political spotlight loved the Highlander Queen. You know what? I never specifically liked. That's one candidate or one official that I've never really was part of. I never backed her. I went to school with her. I didn't like her in school, and I don't like her in life. So, hey, the realist, listen, maybe that's telling you something. I don't know. I don't know. They say that AI gives you the commercials that you're meant to get. So, I don't. All right. Let's, she's beautiful. Hey, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So, have at it, my friend. All right. So, hey, it's time to get at it, ladies and gentlemen. So, I sent that email out to the council, and a couple of them, amazingly, have actually responded. So, first and foremost, and this guy always responds. I don't ever have a problem with McIntosh responding. He always responds. So I got to give that dude credit. I will always give him credit because he does a damn good job responding. So he sends me a response. Okay, that's cool. Good. Thank you, Danny. You probably did, and I will get on that tomorrow. At-large Counselor William McIntosh says, I believe that we met on July 21st. I met with Sloan and his cabinet. I don't know who Sloan's cabinet is. I guess that means the other deputy chiefs, along with Councilperson Dishman and Councilperson Basham, discussing the flock issue. Okay. Now, he said that. So he said we met discussing the flock issue. Okay. Well, at that same time, I also received another response back from Councilperson Nora Powell, and Nora Powell had said, I met with Chief Sloan and members of NPD to discuss the City of Muncie's use of flock cameras. So that's what she says. So because she answered that so quickly, I text her back and I said, thank you, Counselor Powell. I have a few follow-up questions for you. Were there any other counselors with you, or was it just you? Who called the meeting, you or MPD? And lastly, was this because of questions that citizens have been asking, or because MPD has something in mind? And more than likely something is coming, like, for example, an ordinance or resolution at an upcoming meeting, ? Now, I am also going to be sending that same question to at-large counselor McIntosh, because I want to get his response to that as well. I want to see what he's saying there, because I need to know what he is saying, what the meeting was. So I'm going to actually ask him this now. Thank you for your quick reply, Councilor McIntosh. I have a few follow-up questions for you. Okay. I don't have to ask him if there were any other counselors there, because he already told us. Who called the meeting? One of you counselors or MPD? And lastly, was this because of questions that citizens are asking, or because MPD has something in mind? Like, for example, something is coming, an ordinance or resolution at an upcoming meeting. So we'll see how he responds to that. That's exactly right, Charlize. It's really odd to me. I honestly can't believe that, because they just can't meet 5 all, right? So I honestly can't believe that Sloan wouldn't meet with Jerry Dishman, Brandon Garrett, and Dale Basham together. That's 3. And then meet with Rose Selvey and Green together. And then that would be the 5 of them. And then just say, to hell with it. We're not going to meet with Nora, Sarah, Harold, or Billy, and just be done with it. I'm surprised they've done that. I'm surprised they've mixed any Democrats in here whatsoever. But because, the Democrats can have all these questions about it, but if the Democrats don't vote for it, as long as they have those 5, they're good to go. So I'm actually surprised, to be honest. So it is what it is. Okay, so Nora said what she said, and then I asked her the follow-up, and then Nora's response to the follow-up is this. Mr. Bilbrey, there were other counselors present at the meeting I attended. I don't know if informational sessions were already scheduled, but I received the invitation shortly after I emailed the mayor and Chief Sloan requesting the contract between flock safety and the City of Muncie, as well as the MPD's policy regarding flock camera use. Okay, that's a great question. I respect that, and I know what she's talking about. I know when she did this. My follow-up to Nora now has to be, thank you for your quick response. By the way, did you ever get the contract and policy? Okay, so I responded to Nora and said, thank you for your quick response. By the way, did you ever get the contract and policy that you had requested? If so, can you provide that to me, please? So that's what I sent to Nora. So that's that. And so that's the end of the emails that I responded that I've received from the council. And you know what's interesting to me? You know what's really crazy is the other day after the council meeting on Monday, August 5th. I got to be honest. I normally don't have a problem going into the heat of battle, being all amped up, getting in and duking it out and fighting it out. And then when the meeting adjourns, it's adjourned, we go out. I'm okay leaving it all in the field and walking out and being cool and talking with these people and laughing and joking and even whatever. Last Monday night was not one of those days. Last Monday night, I needed to get the hell out of Dodge before something stupid happened. And I'll just leave it at that. Now, I don't mean anything bad, whatever. I didn't want to say or do anything because it is what it is. Oh, that's exactly right. Knowledge is power. Wayne Scaife, that is absolutely right, sir. Haven't you figured it out yet? Sloan has a chip on his shoulder because Dan put it there. That's exactly right. And I'll tell you what, Muncie City Police, even through all the chaos and craziness and the bad stuff, they've always had a really good relationship with reporters. That was until Nate Sloan came aboard. And Nate Sloan, this man that's supposed to be the Boy Scout, supposed to be making everything right, he has refused to talk to the media. I know that Channel 13 and Channel 6, I think Fox 59, all just cannot stand having to contact MPD because they will not they refuse to communicate with them, and it's ridiculous. That's one thing that the police, they have to do. They have to have a relationship with the media, and not having that relationship is so detrimental to regular police work. It's really, really crazy. And so it's I don't know. It's crazy, but okay. So I want to talk a little bit about my thoughts as it pertains to the flock cameras. I've always been very clear, as a former police officer, I'm pro law enforcement, but I'm the first person to say, you're not violating my rights. I'm not going to stand for that. You're not doing that. I don't answer questions, yada, 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 all that stuff. Okay. Because as pro police as I am, I'm far more pro myself and pro my constitutional rights than I am police. So that being said, I understand the need for technology. I understand technology is going to come up and it's going to change things. And every time there has been every time there's been a change in technology, everybody's like, oh my God, it's the end of civil liberties as we know it. And sometimes that's been true and it's been bad. And sometimes it's like way blown out of proportion. So we have to take the good, the bad. We have to look at everything. So, I know that I've spoken out about this long, long ago when Muncie first put this in place. I was not happy that Muncie was doing this. And I have my personal reasons. And if any of you have been, depending on how many of you have been around, there are people that have been here for a long time and you will know why. you will know why I'm extremely leery of this. Okay? Unfortunately, I can't talk about that because of non-disclosures and all. However, it's very easy for you to find out what I am talking about. You just have to do a little bit of work on your own. Google's easy. Google, my name, Muncie, and just, various words. Words are interesting. Words like, federal and civil rights and various things, lawsuits, stuff. Just if you just have fun with it, okay? So tonight, this is just the very tip of starting to look at this. This is going to be something that we're going to be talking about, even if nothing happens in Muncie. If nothing comes, which it's going to, and we're going to have to fight this. This is just the tip of it. We're going to be talking about this for a very, very long time. And tonight's core question has to be looking at Flock can be a powerful investigative lead generator. And that's just what it is. It is what it is. Is that good? Can it be good? Can it be bad? Listen, I was talking to my grandparents about this the other day. Cocaine is used in dental and ear, nose, and throat surgeries. Still to this day, cocaine is used in ear, nose, and throat surgeries. Morphine and heroin is an amazing pain killer and has medical properties. Okay? It can be used for good. Cocaine can be used for good. Marijuana can be used for good. They can also be overused and used improperly and used wrong. You can use a hunting rifle for good purposes. You can also kill people with it. So the fact that Flock is a powerful investigative lead generator, it's not on itself good or bad. It's the person using it that's good or bad. When thousands of cameras become one searchable network, does a useful police tool become a system for tracking ordinary Americans who are suspected of nothing? And should we have problems with that? Should we say, well, look, there's people out there that don't do anything wrong that says, I have nothing to hide. Those are scary people. Those are scary people. Not because they're doing something wrong, but because they are so willing to lay over that it makes it harder for the other ones of us out here that are also good and have nothing to hide, but don't want to be spied on to not be spied on. Man, I lived in London, England. I lived in London, England. And I can tell you, I remember as an American getting there, even this was years ago, how weird it was that there was a camera everywhere. They literally, there can be a crime in downtown, busy, crazy as it gets London at Paddington Station, and they can literally use their cameras to walk each individual back to where they left their door in the morning. And that is quite frightening on its own. So we have to look at what Flock cameras actually do. Okay. They're sold as being automated license plates readers, okay? The police call them ALPRs, flock LPR cameras, photograph passing vehicles, and convert what they see into searchable records, including plate numbers, vehicle make and model and color, location of the vehicle, time. Flock also offers searches based on vehicle characteristics like dents and scratches, dings. Does this have a cracked headlight? Is it missing its right passenger mirror? It tells that stuff. Okay. Real-time alerts. A plate can be compared against law enforcement hot lists, including stolen or wanted vehicles, and officers can be alerted when a match passes a specific camera. Not the same as a speed or red light camera. Okay. The core LPR product is an investigative surveillance system, not an automated traffic ticket system. So they are different. Okay. Important product distinction. Flock sells more than LPRs, including video and other public safety products. When discussing Flock cameras, specifically whether the issue is the LPR network or a different Flock product. Scale. Flock says that there are more than 5,000 law enforcement agencies using its technology today. Okay. Its value comes partly from network effects. Agencies can search their own cameras, and depending on sharing settings and law policy data, they can also check other agencies. So, like, for example, Muncie might be able to work a crime. They're working a murder, and one of their suspects is from Indianapolis, and they feel like, well, we'll just check into Marion County Flock system, and they'll be able to see the information for the Flock cameras in the Marion County area. And, there's questions about, should police from Evansville be able to spy on citizens from Fort Wayne? Is that something, should they be able to check into that stuff? Is that something they should be doing or should not be doing? That's just all things we've got to ask. Data retention control, current company position. Default retention. Flock says that LPR data is deleted after 30 days by default, but actual retention can vary by contract or law. Longer retention is possible. Flock's current frequently asked questions says an agency seeking retention beyond 30 days, when not already required by law, can request for up to 1 year after the approval from an elected official, after the approval from an elected official and or governing body. Ownership, and this is a real big question. Flock says the customer owns the captured LPR data and controls sharing. Its legal policy also reserves the ability to access, preserve, disclose data when legally required or when it has good faith basis tied to legal processes, contract enforcement, security, privacy, fraud, or technical issues. Okay. Audit ability. This is a big deal. Searches are logged. Flock offers audit and transparency tools, role-based access controls, and encryption. These are genuine safeguards, but their value depends on an agency policy, supervision, and enforcement. By the way, who's doing these audits? Okay. The bottom line is the camera only is half the story. The database, the sharing rules, the search permissions, and all of that, okay, is where the real civil liberties debate lives. And that's what we have to totally understand. All right. There are situations in which Flock can be an absolutely amazing tool. There are situations where it can be extremely scary. And so I really I question this. I question everything about this. I always have from the first time. I had never heard it before I heard it from Dan. Okay. And now to answer Kid Rock, I do want to say this because Kid Rock says Flock can hear gunshots. That's yes and no. So first, no. Technically, the ordinary Flock license plate cameras by themselves do not have audio microphone recording capability. But as I read you a moment ago, as I told you, Glock, now we're talking. Flock does more than just these license plate readers. So if your city, your county, your town, your state, wherever your neighborhood if they have the LPR readers, those cannot hear conversations, they cannot hear arguments, and they cannot hear gunshots, arguments, screams, yells, fights, car crashes. They don't hear any of that because there's nothing connected to them. All they're doing is taking pictures and video. However, Flock does sell separate equipment specifically for audio detection and specifically for gunshot detection system. Formerly marketed as Raven, it uses acoustic sensors to detect sounds such as gunfire, fireworks, vehicle crashes, tire screeching, sideshows, and other situations that it's set up for. The LPR, ALPR cameras takes vehicle plate images and creates searchable vehicle data. Flock lists audio detection as a separate related product, and it does not come as a standard function of the LPR camera. So that is Glock, not Flock. That's what it needs to be. That's absolutely amazing. Yeah, that's great. Now, like the gunshot audio devices, those have been in big cities like Chicago and Detroit for like years. They've had those up there since the early 2000s. And I don't really know what the pushback, but you're talking about cities that are normally very liberal minded. These are cities where, the Democrats have control of the network there. And, I've never heard much pushback from that, but, that's something else we would have to consider. Okay. So before we get into the real negative stuff, I do want to talk about what law enforcement and people who would be pro-law enforcement would talk as what would be the strongest case for Flock. Okay. So, of course, they're going to say things like faster leads in serious cases. So a vehicle can be one of the best leads in a robbery, a homicide, a kidnapping, a stolen car case, amber or silver alert, or missing person investigation. These ALPR cameras can turn a vague description into a location and a direction of travel quickly in real time. Okay, real-time recovery of stolen or wanted vehicles. Hot list alerts can move police from passive investigation to immediate action when wanted vehicles passes a camera. They can connect jurisdiction to jurisdiction when you have cross-jurisdiction coordination. Criminal activity routinely crosses city and county lines, county to county, state to state. And networked ALPR system can help agencies connect movements and incidents that would otherwise sit in separate databases or reports for weeks or months or never be connected, honestly. Searchable objective evidence, vehicle images, times, locations can corroborate, contradict witness accounts. Used correctly, the data can narrow the investigation instead of relying solely on memory or hunches. It can help in situations where you have limited manpower. It's built-in accountability tools. Every search can be logged. Every audit tools can identify suspicious search patterns. And we will talk about that here in a minute because there have been a lot of police that have been caught abusing these. The public roadway argument. Supporters note that license plates are government-issued identifiers displayed in public, and police have always been able to observe a plate on public streets. Flock automates and scales that observation. The best pro-Flock formulation is police should not have to choose between constitutional policing and modern tools. If a camera can help find kidnappers, kidnap child, recover stolen cars, or identify murder suspects, the answer should be strong rules and human verification, not automatically throwing a tool away, specifically when you're talking about in places of the public, because the rule has always been what your eyes can see in public is free game. We have an obligation to protect ourselves. So if I don't want someone knowing what I'm doing, I better keep it behind closed doors, closed walls. If I'm out committing crimes and I'm driving down the freeway doing it, I'm already putting myself in a bad situation. Important evidence caveat here. Agencies and vendors' success stories show that ALPRs can generate useful leads, but case examples are not the same thing as independent casual findings that cameras reduce overall crime. Okay, so you have to look at that, all right? Now, I want to do what the most of us care about here. The strongest case against Flock, and this is what I specifically care about. Dragnet collection of innocent motorists. The system does not begin with a suspect. The system begins with a vehicle that passes by the camera and only later lets authorized users decide whose movements to search. And critics call that suspicionless mass collection. So, if they are going to the device and typing in the address, the license plate of a murder suspect, that's good. But when they're looking at a camera at all cars that are passing, that's questionable. Scale changes the privacy question. One officer seeing one plate at one intersection is fleeting. A network, and this is what Kate was talking about, a network that can reconstruct multiple sightings over days or weeks creates a much more detailed movement history. The privacy concern is not merely the photograph, it is the searchable history.
Well, and taking it further, that whole blanket thing.
Yeah.
With your eyes, the cameras, they're basically taking the place of the police going out and cordoning off an entire section of a city and searching every vehicle going through it.
That's right.
Setting up roadblocks.
Yeah.
I would be pissed about that too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just bullshit. I came up to distract people while you were doing your thing. Thank you.
No, you're fine. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay. So, mission creep, a system installed for stolen cars or violent crime can later be searched for lower level offenses, civil matters, immigration related inquiries, protests, school residency investigations, other purposes unless policy and law clearly limits it. This is one of the things that I always ask, like, all right, we're using drones to go up and we're looking for a little missing girl. And so we send up the drone footage and it goes over some housing projects as it goes to look for this girl in the woods. And it finds the girl. But then while they were in the heat of looking for the girl, the drone operator was flying it over these houses. And he just so happened to notice that in one of these apartments, somebody looked like they were growing marijuana in the backyard. But they didn't have time to mess with that because they were looking for a little girl. So they now go and they look at this little girl. Well, now after the little girl's found and everything's good, they now take this video back and they use this video now as a pretext for, well, now we're going to do a trash poll here. And now we're going to go and we're going to build a case against Jane Doe, who lives at such and such apartment address, because we saw that, she had a guy over there and he was growing marijuana or smoking a joint in the back or whatever the deal was going on. And so that's always the question, like, okay, you're using it for something good now, but then afterwards you have all this left, and that's specifically drone use, but the same thing applies to flock cameras, right? So that's that. Okay, so insider misuse is not hypothetical. On August 7th, 2026, Savannah Police, this was just 2 days ago, Savannah Police fired 4 officers and 2 civilian employees after an internal investigation found unauthorized flock searches, including searches involving acquaintances and family members. The cases were referred to the Georgia Bureau of Investigations. Accuracy errors can create dangerous encounters. Matches should be treated as leads, not proof. On July 2026, Business Insider investigation reported that in Roseville, California, 71% of 1,427 stolen felony alerts from 2023 to 2024 involved misread plate characters. Misread plate characters. Roseville had an atypical camera setup and required verification, and it reported no stops or arrests from those bad alerts. But the episode shows why independent confirmation matters. 71%. Dude, that's like a lot. Network sharing can outrun local expectations. A city may believe it bought a local crime tool, while residents discover that data can be searched across much larger network. The key questions here are which agencies can search, whether nationwide sharing is enabled, and how federal requests are handled. Vendor trust and cybersecurity matter. Even with encryption and formal policies, a privately operated surveillance platform creates vendor risk, questions contract terms, software changes, security configurations, outside legal demands, and whether public officials fully understand the product's capabilities. And this is something I am very concerned about here, because I'll be completely honest. I don't feel or think or believe that our local officials here in the city of Muncie, in Delaware County, in the town of Albany, the town of Gaston, the town of Daleville, the town of Eaton, the town of Yorktown, the town of Selma, I don't believe any of our local officials have the wherewithal to know what this shit means. I just simply don't think that I don't think that they can follow along. I don't think that they have it. I don't think that I think that you could be talking to them and, you could sell them anything. 70 out of every 100,000. Think about that. That's right, freedom fighter. 70 out of every 100,000 is 71%. That's a very, very good point. If people believe their attendance at protests, political events, gun shops, religious service, medical provider, or other lawful locations can be reconstructed from vehicle data, surveillance can affect lawful behavior even when no crime is suspected. The best argument for these civil liberties, for those of us that care, the constitutional concern is not that a cop can see your plate in public. I'm okay with that. It's that the government can build a searchable log of where millions of innocent people have been, including my ass, then search it after the fact without someone ever knowing. So imagine a situation if you will. All right. I'm going to talk to you about this is a completely hypothetical situation. Let's make up a town. Let's say that you live in Tompkinsville, Oklahoma. And let's say Freedom Fighter lives in Tompkinsville, Oklahoma, and Freedom Fighter has a really bad problem with the mayor of Tompkinsville. And the mayor there's Joe. Okay, let's just say it's Joe Tompkins is the mayor of Tompkinsville. It's a whole big thing. Okay. And Freedom Fighter says, I don't like Mayor Joe, and I'm going to speak out about him. I'm going to go to protest. I'm going to make a Facebook show. I'm going to go on YouTube. I'm going to gripe. I'm going to bitch, and I'm going to lay it to him.
I'm going to put a big sign in my yard that says, he is not my
mayor. Yep, right. We know someone that did that. That's very true. Like an 88-year-old lady. She was kick-ass. And let's say Joe Tompkins doesn't like that Freedom Fighter's doing that. So Joe Tompkins, the mayor of Tompkinsville, goes to his, he's got a 110-man police department, and he tells 4 or 5 officers on the police department, I want you to get me everything you know about Freedom Fighter. I want to know their background information. I want to know where they go. I want you to follow them, and I want you to kind of shake them up. That is a serious. I want to tell you a crazy story, and this is not related to Flock in the least, but it just goes to show you where we're at. Saturday, I was doing some constitutional activities. Let's just say it that way. Okay? I was doing some constitutional activities on Saturday. And my bank, okay, I like them. I got a couple different banks that I go to for a couple different reasons, okay? I got an account with First Merchants that I've had since I've been 16. Joe Tompkins. And I have that First Merchants account. I've got a mutual account. I've got a Ball State University account, and I've even got an account at Thrive Credit Union. And I put different money in different places, doing different things. And on my primary account, I have this thing that most of us have, where you have a certain limit on your ATM card. You can only get out $400 a day or $800 or whatever the limit is. But so then I have that. They have that on in case someone steals your thing. But then I also have this thing on where you can only get out. You only have a certain limit that you can get out. Now, I can call anytime I want, and I can raise that limit. If I'm going on vacation and I want to raise it for every day for the week, for 7-10 days, I can do it. If I'm going to go and I want to buy a lawnmower, I can go and buy a $8,000 lawnmower, and I want to raise my limit on there, I can call in and do it. I called in to my bank on Saturday, and I said, hey, what is my limit at? Can you tell me? And I think my current limit is like $1,000. So that means I can only go and pull $400 out of my ATM. But I can go throughout my entire day on Saturday, and I can go to the store and I can buy $200 in groceries. That's good. I can go buy a couple things. I can go buy some bullets and, buy $100 in ammunition. And when I get up to $990 spent all day Saturday, if I go someplace and I try to buy something for $20, it won't let me go because within a 24-hour window, I can only hit $1,000 unless I raise that limit. I called on Saturday to raise my limit. And the lady said, okay, let me see if I can do that. And I said, see if you can do that. Sure, you can do it. It's my money. And she said, okay, yeah, sir, I'll be right back. She comes back to me and she says, yes, we can do that, sir. I've just got one question for you. I said, sure. She said, what are you spending this money for? What are you doing this for? And I said, so I can spend my money? And she said, excuse me? And I said, well, I'm not trying to get money out of your account, am I? And she said, no. She said, well, I said, right. Yeah, it's my money in my account, and I want to spend my money. So I'm calling and telling you to raise the limit so I can spend my money. And she's like, yeah, but I got to mark something down. I got to mark something down. What do you want me to mark down? And I said, okay, are you ready? And she said, yeah. And I said, I want you to write down so he can spend his money. And she's like, that's what you want me to write down? I said, look, I don't care what you write down. I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing. I would never tell you what I'm doing with my money. I don't need to tell you what I'm doing with my money. Oh man, I tell you, people would be like, why you got to be that way? Just lie. Just lie to them. And I'm like, no. What do you mean? Why?
Because the next step in that is that I go into a store and they don't like what it is that I'm trying to buy and they decline the purchase.
Yeah.
Screw you. My money, I'm going to spend it how I want to.
Yeah, right.
No, you just need to do what I tell you to do.
Yep.
Are you pulling your accounts from them?
Yeah, it walked through pretty easy, but I tell you, if I do that again and they ever ask that, I probably will see about checking out of there because that was pretty wild. The
only time I've ever been asked any kind of question like that was when my grandmother died and I went to deposit money that she had left for me in the bank. Yeah. And it was a significant amount that would need to be reported to the IRS. And they asked where it came from. And I said it was from my grandmother. Okay. That's what they put.
Yeah.
Gift from grandma.
Yeah.
That I don't have a problem with.
I would have said I murdered my grandmother.
I murdered my grandmother and I stole all her money. That's the only time that I've ever done.
I'm fine with that. Yeah, I think I've done that.
Like that.
I'm pretty sure I've done that.
Why do you want this money? None of your fucking business.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, totally crazy.
You're nicer than I am.
No. Next time I do that, I get what you're saying, Nicole. That's a little bit different. Depositing money here, there, and I still would like whatever. That's still questionable. I mean, I get what you over a certain amount and things like that. But when I'm talking about withdrawing my money to spend it a certain way, if they ask me that again, I'm going to say hooker, whores, and blow.
Well, I have a
alcohol,
kind of
hookers, and blow.
Your flock story with the mayor.
What?
Your flock story with the mayor. You were telling that, and it made me think of a time back in Winchester when how many times in a day did you or a family member get pulled over?
Now listen, that one. There is not a non-disclosure signed, so I can definitely talk about that. Mm-hmm. I used to fight the city of Winchester over the situation in Winchester. And when Sean Byram was the mayor of Winchester, The Winchester, and we were fighting about this. They used to pull me over. They pulled me over in my house one time. I was driving, and an officer got behind me, and I knew because they had been pulling me over nonstop. But how it happened, the lights caught him, and I got home, and I parked, and I went in, and a few minutes went by, and they came up to my porch, and he knocked on my door, and he said, hello. And I said, hello. And he said, do you have your license with you? And I said, yes. And he said, may I see your license? And I said, for what? And he was just like, he said, well, I was behind you. And I said, are you pulling me over at my house? Are you making a traffic stop on me in my house? And he was like, well, but you were driving. I said, yeah, but you didn't stop me. While I was driving, I made it to my house. I didn't outrun you. I wasn't running from you. We were driving. You were driving. I was driving. A lot of people in Winchester were driving. And I parked and came home. And you have now stopped and are standing on my porch wanting my driver's license. I said, why don't you do this? I'll keep my license in my wallet. You turn around and walk back to your car before you make a very serious screw up here. He was a young guy, and he did, and we're actually friends now. He that officer and I, and I always want to ask him about that. I always want to ask him about that. It's very interesting. But yeah, one time I was pulled over. Let's see, my car, Joni's car, Mom's car. I was pulled over 3 times in 3 different cars, like in an afternoon. And then later that night, I was pulled over again in one. I was pulled over in one car twice in Winchester in one day. And then I was pulled over so I was pulled over 4 times in one day in 3 different vehicles. That is insane. They never gave me tickets. They just pulled me over and let me know that they were there. Now, they were all kind of, I mean, that's intimidating. Like, I could see people being intimidated by that. I was not intimidated by it because I knew them all and they were all idiots. There are places where that would be really scary. You know, there are Muncie cops that you wouldn't want to get pulled over by like that. It could be very bad. You know, there are Anderson cops and Indianapolis cops, and, you know, but yeah, so don't tell me that they don't do things they shouldn't be doing. Listen, don't ever tell me that cops don't abuse things. I know that they used to use the rate. Listen, this is what people always get confused on. As a police officer, if I'm driving in my car, I can pick up my radio and I can be driving down the road with no reason. We can just be on McGalliard and I'm driving and you turn off a side street and you get in front of me. And I can pick up the radio and say, hey, this is 56. Can you do a 1028 on license plate 18 G George 1348? And I can get that return, or I can type on my computer and I can get the return on myself on your car, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's no issue with that. All right. What's illegal is running background checks, called triple I's, or doing questionable things you should be doing. Now, you shouldn't be running license plate checks on like license plates that you see on TV or in movies, or you shouldn't be running Donald Trump and his birth date. Those things are illegal. Okay. So that's a little bit different. Well, happy birthday. Is it Linda Cowan or is it Lida? Did you miss a D there or an N? Is it Linda or is it Lida? 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 Let me know. I'll say it right. Hey, let's take a break real quick. When we get back, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to finish this up and get everybody out of here. You guys sit tight. You're listening to the 713th episode of the Political Spotlight. My name's Kristopher H. Bilbrey. We'll be right back. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, what in the flock is going on in Muncie? Well, we're going to take a look at this, and then we're going to wrap this up. So I think what's important here is the key nuances that we have to understand, specifically in this Savannah issue, because it can cut both ways. So for those of us in the anti-flock corner, we've got 6 employees with the police department who were terminated after alleged unauthorized searches involving personal acquaintances, family, friends, people they were looking up. This demonstrates the temptation and practical ability to use the network for non-law enforcement purposes. And that's going to happen everywhere because people that are police officers are human, and it's just human nature. You're going to do stupid stuff. You're going to look up your girlfriend. You're going to look up your girlfriend's ex-boyfriend. You're going to look up your ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend. That stuff just happens, and that's wrong, and it shouldn't, and it's bad, and it's a problem. Okay? Now, Lisa, her name's Lisa, not Lita or Lida. Well, happy birthday, Lisa. As far as those for the pro flock corner, they're going to say, well, there was misconduct. It was discovered because these searches were logged and the department used Flock's audit tooling. And Flock's response is that the evidence was there, the accountability works, and these people were fired. The real policy question needs to be, is an audit trail enough when the search itself can expose sensitive movement data? Auditing usually detects abuse after a search occurs. Prevention requires narrow permission, supervision, serious penalties, and ideally technical restrictions on prohibited categories of searches. I don't want someone to abuse this, get information, and get in trouble after the fact where they get fired. If you abuse this stuff as a police officer, you should be charged with a crime criminally. You should be charged and you should be in trouble. Period. Also, when you hear people talk about how accurate this is, never let another person tell you that this is a great tool because it's accurate. Anytime someone tells you accurate, bring up the number 71%. Roseville, California, okay, 71%. Now, that's not the universal flock error rate. That's not true. You can't be crazy with it. That was a specific analysis of a stolen felony alerts in one city during the 2023-2024 period. Okay. Flock said that was atypical, including older hardware and placement further from vehicles than recommended, yada, 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 yada. All human error stuff. How many human error things are going to happen? Flock says its plate characteristics reading is above 96% in optimal conditions. But how many people's always going to have optimal conditions? Okay. To me, in my opinion, we got to look at the constitutional aspect. That's all that matters. Supporters are going to say license plate is exposed to public view. Automated observation of public roads is an extension of traditional policing. I think that's horseshit. Supreme Court privacy case involving long-term location tracking support the argument that this changes the constitutional analysis. Even when individual movements occur in public, the fact that they are able to do this long-term, always just over every day, it's like the whole shooting fish in a barrel type of thing. Now, we have a very relevant local angle here in Indiana. Indiana is already seriously debating this, like in real time. The state, Bloomington, Monroe County, they each have taken different steps to show the argument is no longer theoretical. Just this year, there's been an Indiana HOA restriction. Indiana House Bill 1150 bars a homeowners association from installing, maintaining, or operating a flock camera, and bars the HOA from allowing one on HOA property unless it is installed by law enforcement agency and only law enforcement has access to the data. The law is important, but it's not a general ban on police ALPR use, so we need to work on that. Bloomington ended its flock LPR contract. Bloomington's flock LPR contract expired on March 5th of this year. On April 15th, the city announced it would not renew a months-long evaluation after public controversy. By late July, the mayor's office said the city's LPR had been removed, and the city said it was evaluating alternatives with stronger privacy, transparency, and oversight provisions. I think that's big for Bloomington. I'm very proud of them. Monroe County, the county in the same area where Bloomington is, the commissioners voted 2-0 on July 23rd, 2026 to terminate the county's flock contract early and to remove 6 cameras, accepting up to about $3,000 in removal charges. Commissioner Julie Thomas acknowledged that the cameras had helped find missing people and investigate crimes, but cited national data abuse stories in supporting the cancellation. Okay. And if you guys were watching Fox News tonight, they just published an interview just a little bit before we went on air with the Knox County, Tennessee Mayor Glenn Jacobs, who called for a nationwide pause on further flock deployment until constitutional and regulatory guardrails catch up. He explicitly said law enforcement should retain effective tools, but argued that deployment should wait for clear safeguards that makes this useful example of the issues crossing ordinary left to right political lines. I think it's very interesting. I think what we have to be looking at here is if libertarians, civil liberties groups, local Republicans, progressive activists, police chiefs, and crime victims, if we can all find something legitimate in this debate, which so far we've all found something legitimate in the debate, then I think the lazy framing of this is just a partisan issue is probably wrong. I think that the framing's not exactly right. So I think this is going to be interesting. Before we leave, I do want to show you guys the that interview. So sit tight here, and we're going to take a look at this and see what the deal is. You guys sit tight.
Flock surveillance cameras are catching flack. Privacy concerns are at the forefront of this discussion after a reported 50 law enforcement officers used the technology for unauthorized purposes, including to stalk women. Now, cities and counties across the country are rejecting the use of the cameras altogether. For more, let's bring in the mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, Glenn Jacobs. Mayor Jacobs, thank you so much for being here. These are no ordinary license plate readers. They can track cars by dents or by bumper stickers. Cops in your county wanted $1 million worth until, as the New York Post writes, you, the former WWE star, chokeslammed the deal. Why?
Well, Peter, first of all, thanks for having me on. As you said, these are not your typical or conventional license plate readers. They're a lot more than that. This debate is framed about law enforcement versus and public safety versus privacy. Really, I want law enforcement to have all the tools that they need. At the same time, those tools have to be constitutional and they have to be safe. I'm sure you all saw a story just 2 days ago where a lady in Wisconsin was boxed in by police. Officers had their weapons drawn because a flock camera had flagged her car as being involved in a murder. There was another story very similar to that a few weeks ago where a family was pulled over. Again, police got out of their cars because they think it's a very dangerous situation. They thought it was a stolen car. It was not. It was an error with the flock cameras. Those are not isolated incidents. Those may be more dramatic than what we've seen otherwise, but this system is notoriously erroneous. There's a city in California, 71% of the hits were the wrong license plate. And then I believe that the system, because it is a mass surveillance system, is unconstitutional as well. So we're talking about something that is not only not safe, it's unconstitutional.
And to your point, I did a Google News search just of flock cameras, and these were the first 3 results. Officer allegedly used flock license plate cameras to track boyfriend's ex-wife. 6 Savannah police employees placed on leave over possible misuse of flock cameras. And then Mooresville, North Carolina police investigating 10 cases of suspected flock camera misuse by officers. Is it just me, or is this a lot like the days of Edward Snowden, where he taught us all about these mass surveillance tools? And a big part of his point was people who work for the government will use these things to stalk exes or stalk the cute girl across the hall or others who are not police targets.
Yes.
Right. As you've pointed out, we've seen dozens of cases now of rogue officers misusing this technology. And since Anthony Fauci is back in the news, can you imagine what would have happened during COVID
Yes.
if someone like Anthony Fauci would have had the ability to track people, to encourage local and state health departments to track people using a technology like this? It would have been a complete dystopia. So there are a lot of issues, as you say, privacy, abuse, ultimately just this warrantless mass surveillance, which is anathema to America.
There are some success stories with this, though. There was a 17-year-old last month who was killed in a hit and run in Bakersfield, California. Police say that they caught the driver in this hit and run with flock cameras. What have the police in your county told you about wanting to have tools to solve crimes like that?
Well, sure. And again, this is not about depriving them of the tools. It's about figuring out how these tools can be used in an appropriate manner that is consistent with the Constitution. And as we've seen in dozens of cases, they have been abused. This is not the last time we'll also have this debate about new technology emerging. And until it's ready to go and until there are safeguards put in place, there needs to be a nationwide pause at least put on the deployment of these flock cameras. There is no federal regulatory framework in place that governs them. The laws regarding license plate readers in Tennessee date from 2014 with one very minor update in 2021. The technology has advanced significantly since then. So we want them to have the tools they need. At the same time, those tools have to conform to the Constitution.
The folks at Flock knew that we were going to talk to you. They sent us a statement. Part of it says, data is automatically deleted after 30 days by default unless an agency establishes a different retention period. But you made a great point, Mayor Jacobs, about what somebody like Anthony Fauci might have done with this stuff if he had it 5 years ago. We will stay on top of this. Mayor Glenn Jacobs, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks again, Peter.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. That was that. I thought that was very interesting because as I was actually preparing this, and I've been working on this I've been working on this for the weekend. I was putting together everything and digging stuff out because I've been dealing with several citizens reaching out to me about what's going on in Muncie. And then, of course, now I'm actually hearing from the counselors that, yes, they are meeting. I'm still not sure why. Like I said in the description of this episode, we've heard that rumors are out here that there have been meetings between various members of the Muncie City Council and the Muncie Police Department about flock cameras. The content and context of those meetings are unknown at this time. Questions have been asked, but answers have not yet been provided. That said, this needs to be an all skate. In other words, all hands on deck. People everywhere need to get involved one way or another. If you support it, you're against it, get involved, find out information, and get active. Start talking to your council members, start talking to your mayor, start talking to your county council and your county commissioners and your county, talk to everybody, talk to your state legislators, your state senators, because we need to deal with this. I think very similar to what Mayor Jacobs was saying there and what Stumblefoot said. We need to have a nationwide understanding of this. We need to have a Supreme Court ruling. We need to have an understanding of where this falls and the technology, because right now we're currently in the early stages of this AI deal, and how's that going to play into all of this. So I think we need to understand that every time new technology comes along, we can't just think that it's going to be the end of the world or the end of us or the end of freedom. And police are going to need new technology. At one point police had revolvers, and now look at how that's changed. I get it. Not all technology is bad, but my God, I think this is something that we really need to take a look at. Citizens need to find out what's going on here. We need to find out what the city's plans are, specifically here, the county's plans are, the state's plans are, and then freedom-loving citizens, specifically here in Muncie, Delaware County, and Indiana, need to, in my opinion, push back against what I'm calling the big brothering of Muncie, of Delaware County, of Indiana, and beyond. And so this is just the beginning. We're going to be looking farther into this. I'm going to be reaching out to the police department, to the communications director, and to the city of Muncie, the mayor, to find out what we're doing. I'll be reaching out to the commissioners and finding out what's going on. And hopefully we can be on the ground floor of defeating this overreach, in my opinion. I'm going to tell you it's overreach. That's where I am. So it is what it is. All right. Sorry. Sorry. What you said? Sorry about what? What happened?
I have no idea what you've been talking about for the last 20 minutes, because the phone ringing when I was up earlier was my son calling.
Oh, I've been off screen. I didn't know what that was.
He's slightly tipsy.
All right. No problem.
So he was going to keep calling till I picked up. So
that's no big deal. That's fine.
I don't know what you talked about, so I apologize.
No, that's all right. We're wrapping it up now. So, all right. Well, yeah, we're going to be on that, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a lot of stuff going on this week, and we will, of course, be here, God willing, and keep you guys in focus. A couple people of you ask what's going on with Henry County and the flock camera. And I specifically haven't mentioned that because I'm waiting. We should be finding out just about any day what's going on with those police officers over there, because that is an example of misuse of flock cameras. We've talked about that in the past. We will talk about that more in the future, but I specifically didn't go into it because I have a feeling we're going to be talking about that very soon. And when we do, it's going to be the basis of an entire show. So you guys sit tight. Have a great night, great rest of your Sunday. Have a great start to the work week. And we will see you back here tomorrow at 9 p.m. for episode 714. You guys take care. God bless and good night.
Woo!